Hello and welcome to your course. I'm so excited you decided to enroll into the Dark Knight's Journey from Shadow to Light. I'm Laurie and I'm a personal development coach and a spiritual teacher. So I'm deeply honored to be your guide on the sacred path of self-discovery and empowerment. I'll be your guide throughout the course, the Dark Knight's Journey from Shadow to Light. And my focus is on shadow and healing old behaviors, as well as helping individuals shift their minds towards positive thinking for this first part of the course. So I have so much passion in showing others they have the power to change their lives, and doing this by facing their demons head on and fearlessly. So I focus on healing their traumas that keep them stuck and stagnant in their lives and help them move forward by reclaiming their self-confidence and their self-worth. So others that are being empowered as I empower them empowers me. So I've made it my mission to inspire and empower individuals to connect with their inner wisdom, embrace their true selves, and to live authentically. So through a blend of ancient wisdom and modern practices, I offer guidance to develop mindfulness, expanding consciousness, and promoting personal growth. With compassion and intuition, a deep respect for individual journeys, I'm committed to helping you tap into your inner power and align with your purpose and live a life full of meaning and fulfillment. So with that, let us begin the journey together and begin the introduction to shadow work. What is shadow work? Good question. Well, shadow work is a psychological concept that was developed by Carl Jung. Amazing if you haven't read any of his literature. He's a psychologist and it is very interesting if you're into this kind of stuff. Just go to YouTube. There's free literature on him and books he wrote. They're amazing. And it refers to the process of exploring and integrating the unconscious part of oneself. So often referred to as the shadow. They're the aspects of our personality that we may not fully be aware of or we prefer to ignore, such as negative traits, fears, desires, and unresolved issues from the past. So the unconscious is a realm in which is unknown within the psyche. So the word itself is negative because it means the absence of consciousness. So when I say that, I'm referring to a state where there's no awareness or perception or experience. So I'm going to give a few key point definitions that will often be used during this lesson, and you will need to know them and what they mean to fully understand this lesson and the information that is going to be provided throughout the lesson. So we're going to start with the psyche, and it refers to the totality of the personality, and the psyche has an inherent wholeness, and it has to be recovered and it has to be developed. So key factors: having to be recovered and having to be developed. So we have the unconscious mind is another definition, which refers to a part of the mental process that operates below the level of conscious awareness. And it plays a crucial role in shaping our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and often influences us without our conscious realization. So I'll get more into depth with the subconscious mind as a shadow work that we will be focusing on in this chapter. So the layer closer to the consciousness is personal unconscious. So this is the content of the personal unconscious. It consists of material that was one time conscious. So it's a realm of thoughts and memories and feelings which were known, but now for various reasons have left the consciousness and reside in the unconscious. So the deeper layer of the unconscious is the collective unconscious, and that layer differs from the personal unconscious in that its existence does not depend upon personal experience. The contents of the collective unconscious have never been conscious and are a result of heredity and evolution. So we have this layer of unconsciousness by being born as humans. So just being born is giving you this layer of unconsciousness. And just as our bodies are linked with our past through our evolutionary process, well, it's the same as our psyches. So consciousness is a part of the psyche known directly by the individual. So it consists of thoughts, memories, and feelings which are present in one's awareness. So in relationships to the unconscious, consciousness is the smaller part of the psyche. So this is how I got interested into the subconscious mind. I'm like, what do you mean we're thinking, but we don't know we are? I don't understand this. So I just went deep diving into Carl Jung pretty much. And it got me going, and that was it. I had to understand like how I could be thinking and not know it. Didn't make sense to me, but it does now. A lot of research. So I'm going to also use the word ego as, I'm going to put that in the definition for you guys too, because it's very important, because it's the center of our consciousness. And it's the gatekeeper to consciousness, since experiences of the outer and inner worlds must pass through the ego in order to be conscious. So the ego allows only a portion to filter into the consciousness. And a healthy ego is important to the goal in human development. So we've all probably experienced a little inflation in our egos, and it can lead to one being delusional, and just, it's not pretty for others to observe. And sometimes we don't even know we're living in our ego, but others can clearly see that we are. I'm sure you know some people like that, or unconsciously you might be like that and have those behaviors as well, as I did. Many times I catch myself on my ego, and it's unconscious, but it comes to awareness. And this is what this is all about, bringing light to our consciousness of what is unconscious so that we can be aware of it and fix it. So engaging in shadow work involves acknowledging and accepting these hidden aspects of ourselves rather than repressing them or denying them. So before we get into the shadow, I want to touch up on the subconscious or the unconscious mind a little more, as it helps to understand the shadow selves much deeper. So I'm going to mention automatic processes. So the subconscious mind is responsible for any automatic processes in the brain, such as regulated breathing, heartbeat, and other bodily functions. And it stores memories, habits, and beliefs that influence our behavior. So we also use emotional processing, and our subconscious mind is heavily involved in processing emotions. It can react to situations based on past experiences and emotions stored in memory, even if we're not consciously aware that why we're like feeling a certain way. So sometimes we're just not even aware why we feel these things that we are feeling in our emotions, and we don't know why, because we're not conscious about them, and they're things from the past that are just not in our conscious. It's so strange, I find. Well, we may not always be aware of our subconscious process, such as meditation, hypnosis, and certain therapeutic approaches can help bring the processes into conscious awareness, allowing us to better understand and potentially change them. So the shadow represents the past. It's the primitive and inferior parts of ourselves which have not been given the chance to dwell in the light. So desires and emotions are found in the shadow. And since unconscious has a kind of anatomy, these emotions have a possessive quality. So everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied into the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. So in general, the shadow dwells in the personal unconscious, and represents the aspect of the personality which an individual is ashamed of or will not recognize because it is unacceptable to the conscious personality. So we ignore it, right? We don't want to deal with that. That's like, we're ashamed of it, and we shouldn't be ashamed of anything about ourselves, because we need to integrate this part of ourselves to become whole and to learn to love who we are, because we are all carrying a shadow within us. So much of this shadow is the unlived of the individual. An important way in which a shadow is recognized is through projection. So those things in which we cannot abide in ourselves, we project onto others. In doing this, now our problems are outside of ourselves to fight rather than inside the real arena, which is yourself. So it makes sense why we might want to just do that, right? Just project it onto somebody else. Then we can deal with it, not within ourselves, but all around us, right? I'm sure we've all done that, and if we're not aware of it, you will be by the end of this course. The shadow must be experienced to be truly accepted. So if the shadow is only slightly being acknowledged, it's still being kept away. The struggle is necessary. There is no birth of consciousness without pain. So it is a very painful process, and you really need to be kind to yourself. So the shadow concept provides a helpful handle on all important dimensions of the individualization process. And in this, we can say the inner journey is exciting and stimulating. But the adventures, they soon lose its attractiveness when the shadow side is unwanted and the unwanted figure appears. Yes, the figure. It's like, I call it a figure. The positive aspect of the shadow is the demanding, as it's just as demanding as the negative. So it's far easier to remain ignorant of one's giftedness and let others take responsibility. The individualization process is a journey of awareness, and with awareness comes responsibility. So by acknowledging our shadow selves, we gain deeper insight into our own psyche and our own motivations. Through self-awareness, we can understand why we think, why we feel, and act in certain ways. So even when those aspects may be uncomfortable or contradictory to our conscious self-image, embracing our shadow selves is crucial for achieving psychological integration and wholeness. So by avoiding not willing to own it ourselves, we have given our shadows to others to carry for us. We can be disgusted or judgmental because it's somebody else's problem. We've just projected it onto them, right? So now we can be disgusted. We're not doing it consciously, so don't feel bad if you find yourself doing this, because we all project things onto others. Pretty much the whole world does that. And when you realize you're doing that, it's almost like you have to accept these parts of yourself, and because you're not even conscious you're doing them. So when it does come to consciousness, be prepared to feel a lot uncomfortable. So in time, we learn to own it and care for it, and it's pretty much the pathetic part of ourselves, but in time, you will come to own it, and you'll come to respect it, and you'll learn the lessons off of it. So, but we find owning our shadows does not diminish us. It feels like it when it's happening, but in fact, it's given acceptance to a new source of life for us. So as the inner journey continues, we learn again and again, leading to transformation, and we find the strength in ourselves, which heals the wounded psyche and continues the journey of centering. So it's an ongoing journey. Doing this course, I went through many dark night of the souls, I call them. I had to work with my shadow, and it's very challenging for even me, and I've done so much shadow work, but it's always going to come up again for me, and it is a continuous journey. So there's a lot of work to do when you want to go inside. It is probably going to be the biggest adventure you decide to go on. So I'm going to leave this lesson and leave you with your workbook and your journal and your guided meditation. And it's from a series that I have that I'm always doing weekly episodes on my podcast, the Chambers of Healing series. So you can check that out on my YouTube channel. And I will see you again on your next journey. And happy shadow work. And remember, self-care and lots of self-love.